Hi, we're going to find the inverse of this 3 by 3 matrix. So the procedure for finding the inverse of a matrix in this section is we take the matrix A and we augment it, the 3 by 3 identity matrix. Then we put matrix A in reduced row echelon form, and then what we get on the other side of the matrix, that's going to be A inverse. So that's going to result in hopefully the identity matrix and then the inverse of A. So we're going to start by doing just that. So we're going to create a 3 by 6 matrix, 1, 2, 2, 3, 7, 9, -1, -4, -7. And then we're going to put a 3 by 3 identity matrix augmented to it. So we're going to perform a bunch of row reduction steps in order to create the identity matrix on the left-hand side. Now, when we do that, so the first goal when we row reduce, or when we put this matrix in reduced row echelon form, is going to be to make 1 in the A11 entry, which is already done. Our second goal is to make zeros below that entry. So to make zeros below the entry, we're going to multiply -3 times row 1 plus row 2. That's going to create a 0 there. And then we're going to add row 1 to row 3. That's going to create a 0 there. So I'm going to indicate what I'm doing right here. So I'm going to say -3 times row 1, and I'm going to add that to row 2. We're going to put it into row 2. And then I'm going to do row 1, and I'm going to add that to row 3. Okay, so the first row stays the same throughout the whole matrix. 1, 0, 0. Then this becomes a -3 plus 3 is 0. -3 times 2 is -6 plus 7 is 1. -3 times 2 is -6 plus 9 is 3. -3 times 1 is -3. And then 1 and 0. If we add row 1 to row 3 and put it into row 3, then we get 0, -2, -5, 1, 0, 1. Next, our next goal would be to make a 1 in the A22 entry, and the next goal would be to make zeros below that entry. So in order to turn that -2 into a 0, we will have to do row 2 times times 2, so 2 times row 2, and we're going to add row 3 to that to row 3. And let me see how far I'm going to be able to go on the side there. Okay, you can still see. So let's see what that does to my matrix. 1, 2, 2 stays 1, 0, 0. And then 0, 1, 3, -3, 1, 0 stays. And that becomes 0. 2 times 3 is 6, minus 5 is 1. -6 plus 1 is -5. 2 plus 0 is 2. And that's just 1. Okay, so now this matrix is in row echelon form. Row echelon form. In order to put it in reduced row echelon form, I need to make zeros above the diagonal ones. And my first step would be to multiply, I don't know if you can see that. Yes, you can still see. So what we're going to do, we're going to multiply -3 times row 3, and then we're going to add that to row 2. Then we're going to multiply -2 times row 3. We're going to add that to to row 1. Gonna move to the other side of the board to perform those operations. Okay, and so that means my matrix becomes 1, 2. Let's start at the bottom. 0, 0, that remains unchanged. -5, 2, 1. And we said the second row changes by making a 0 there. So this is 0, 1, -3 times row 1, that's 0. -3 times -5, -3 times -5 is 15, minus 3 is 12. And then -3 times 2 is -6, plus 1 is -5. -3 times 1 is -3, plus 0 is -3. And the first row becomes 0, and then that's 10, plus 1 is 11, that's 4, no, it's -4, and then -2 times 1 is -2. Okay, so we have one last step until we find the inverse. We need to make a 0 above this 1, and to do that, we're going to do -2 times row 2, and we're going to add that to row 1. And that's going to create the identity matrix on the left-hand side there. So it's 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. These are just dots. And so let's see what happens there. So -24 plus 11 is going to be -13. And then 10 minus 4 is 6, and then 6 minus 2 is 4, and then we have 12, -5, -3, -5, 2, and 1. Okay, so let's see. This now is the inverse of A. Now, the way to check to see if our computations were right is to do two things. So to check, we need to perform two multiplications. We multiply A times A inverse to make sure that it equals to the 3 by 3 identity, and we have to do A inverse times A, and we have to check to make sure that that equals the 3 by 3 identity.